Hey YouTube, today I'm going to be working with a Vepr shotgun. Like the Democrats always like to say, the Russians did it. Well, in this case, the Russians really did do it. This is a Russian-made 12-gauge shotgun. What I've done to it is I took a pretty crummy trigger pull and turned it into a 2 to 3 pounder, depending on where you pull on the trigger. Got it cocked here and cleared already, and I'm going to put the little gauge on it, and hope you can see that. 2 pounds. Now that was at the very bottom of the trigger, or the very tip, and if I pull it in the middle it comes out to about 3 pounds. So it's in between 2 and 3 pounds, and I'm going to show you the problem I've had with this is I'm not sure if it's one of their famous vodka specials where Igor and Vladimir at break decided to split a bottle of vodka, and after they got done they decided to work on my gun. It's had some ejection problems, and let me get started here and I'll show you what I've done to hopefully solve the problem. First thing I did was I put in a JTE high performance guide rod. Got that from Carolina Shooters, cost about 30 buckaroos. And I polished up the I put a Tapco G2 trigger in it, and I'm going to take it apart. I also polished it a little, and it helped a little bit, but it didn't seem to help it all that much. Got about 60 shots off before I had a failure to eject, and to me that's not acceptable. So what I did was I polished up some stuff really to a really mirror finish, and cut down on the hammer a little bit. I'm going to take this apart, and I know you've seen this done 1,000 times on YouTube. I'm going to do it really quick, as fast as I can possibly do it, and show you what I did with the actual parts. Even though you've seen one of these, this is basically exactly like an AK-47. Inside's got a couple idiosyncrasies, but the group I'm working with is identical. First thing you do is you take the safety and you turn it all the way up and you pull it right out. Now this has got a safety lever on the other side over here, so I'm going to put it in my really cool and neat magnetic bowl. I highly recommend you get one of these for yourself. You're going to need something like this. Some people say you need a punch. I don't on this particular gun. But what you do need is either a rubber band or one of these wire stipulators that you get off of like a bread wrapper, a loaf of bread. So I'm going to take my little hook, I'm going to grab I also put a high performance spring kit in this from the same company. Also, I got it off of Carolina Shooters. I don't remember exactly how much it cost. It wasn't all that much. And you want to fold these back behind the hammer and put your wrap on there at some point somewhere. Otherwise, when these things fly off, they tend to sting big time. So, if you're really tough, you can take it, I'm sure. This one's giving me trouble already. It's bringing me down. Not to mention poking holes in my really cool blue gloves. Okay, about got it there. It's not going as fast as I'd hoped. There. That's hooked in that way. Now what I'm going to do is there's a little nodgy in here. I'll show it to you when I get it out. Possibly pressing on this helps it come out a little bit. Went in a lot easier than it comes out, for me anyway. And what it does is it holds the the axles that the hammer and the trigger ride on. Oh, there's one that came out already and I didn't even so it punked me there, but I had my hand out of the way. So okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm fine, don't worry. Here's the little clamp, and it goes in like this, and it hooks on where the hammer rides, and this down here hooks on to where the trigger is. And I'm going to pull this pin out. Pin, put that in my really cool jar, and at this point that's loose. I'm going to pull the pin out for the trigger. Here comes the trigger. Everybody stand by. I'm going to put that pin in there, pull the hammer out, and gently degauss it so that I don't get skinned. As you can see inside, it's pretty much the same as an AK. You've got your bolt carrier and your piston, got your bolt, and I didn't do anything. Well, yes, I did. Now, what I did as far as polishing goes, I decided it was time to really get gnarly with the polish. So hopefully you can see all this pretty good. I put a real nice shine on the hammer where the disconnector hits or grabs, where the disconnector gets pushed out of the way there. On the trigger, I shined up the disconnector where it gets pushed. I don't know if you can see down there where the disconnector hooks, and I shined up really nice. Hopefully you can see some of this. I mean, it is like chrome steel. Now with the hammer, what I also did was, you see these bumps? There's a bump there and let me get a nudgy here. There's a bump there and there's a bump there. Kind of hone those down a little bit so when the bolt carrier comes back across them, it doesn't have to really fight so much. It just rides up on it, pushes it down, and I'm hoping along with that, and I also polished up the rail riders, and you can see where the hammer goes across the bolt carrier there. Let's see if I can just wipe that off a little bit. And I polished in here. I also polished pieces on the bolt where they ride in that bolt carrier. Where they ride down in here, polished the sides of that. Maybe you can see that down in there. Basically, I polished everything I possibly could that rides on anything. And I polished the rails a little bit. They're the very hard part because you can't really get under them. But that's what I did. I'm going to take it out tomorrow and see if that solved my problem of failure to eject. Well, that's all for now, YouTube. I'll catch you at the range.